take a seat. It's coffee o'clock. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Nikki and welcome to the first ever episode of a new season of Coffee O'Clock by IIUMTV. So for today's episode, our topic is the weak Generation Z, where we have not one but two very special guests joining us for tonight's episode to open our minds about the strawberry generation. So, without any more delay, let's welcome our guest for tonight's episode, Dr. Mohammad Abbas and also brother Mohammad Rafiq. Hi and Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
How are you
Thank
guys
you.
doing? Are you guys doing
Alhamdulillah.
okay? Alhamdulillah. So you guys have had your dinner?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So you guys are feeling full and ready to answer some questions about Generation Z for tonight?
Inshallah.
Inshallah. All right. So before we proceed with our interview, I just want to remind you guys out there to give tonight's episode a big thumbs up on our YouTube channel. All right. So without further ado, why don't we dive into our questions, shall we? Okay. You guys are ready for the first question?
Yes.
Ready. I'm going to shoot straight. Okay. My first question is going to be for both of you. What is your first impression and also your first thought when you hear the word Generation Z? And also, what do you think is the age range of Generation Z? So, why don't we hear from Dr. Abbas first?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. First and foremost, I'd like to thank the organizers, the host, the chairperson who's chairing this session, and my co-presenter here, or panelists, right? To define the Z generation. The Z generation is the millennial plus generation, right? And their life evolves around technology. So they live a technology-centered life. They are narcissistic in their character, right? And then they can be easily bruised, right? Sensitive, right? By saying that, I'm not going to say later on, right, everything negative about them. It's unfair. They came to this world, not of their own will, right? They are born at a time, where technology is there at advanced level, right? So if I'm born at this time around, perhaps I will be like one of them. So we have to look this issue of the Z generation, a little bit of, here and there. There are positive and negatives. At the moment, they are, as I said just now, they are a little bit egocentric, self-centered. They are also known as the I generation, right? So.
All right. So how about Brother Rafi? Do you agree with Dr. Abbas? And what is the age range that you think Gen Z is?
There are some characteristics that I think is special for Generation Z, where there are no characteristic of it in millennials or boomers. But yes, I think it is very important that we see Generation Z as maybe the end of the current era, current modern era, which we see that they are a product of the modern world, meaning that the technology that we have today, the advancement history from World War One to World War Two, from boomers, millennials, and also Gen Z, we can see the development of the current era from the attitude or maybe the current generation itself. And the age group, I think, for me, it's around 12 to 20.
12 to 20.
At first, yeah.
How about Dr. Abbas?
Mine
Age
is
range?
9 to 24.
9
It
to
depends on the researchers, When you read about this, there's a wide range of generations, After this generation, they say it's the alpha generation coming, the great generation, and then the silent generation, and then the baby boomers, and then the X generation, the Y generation. The Y generation is also known as the millennials. And then comes the Z generation, right? So that is according to the researchers, Western, mainly they are all Western researchers, right? But allow me later also to say from the Islamic perspective also, because we are from an Islamic university, right? Our voice should be heard outside that also, right? I have students out there, my friends and families are watching this program right now, right? So, inshallah, I'll leave it to you later to pose such questions to me.
Inshallah. Hopefully, we have enough time to discuss such things. All right. So, the next question I have is for Dr. Abbas.
Okay.
Do you think that family status plays a role in raising a weak generation per se? For example, young people who were born with, people call a silver spoon in their mouths, maybe have become too lazy to work hard because they know they can just ask money from their parents.
I believe so. I believe so in the sense, family has an impact in the upbringing of a child, right? But that doesn't mean that you are coming from a rich family. You have, most of them behave like that, right? So, rich families, well-to-do, affluent families, they can cater for every needs of the child, right? So they come out brilliant sometimes. Sometimes the opposite, they can be also lazy at the same time.
Yes.
Now, those from the poor family, they are not going to stay like that forever. There's sort of a self motivation, yeah, external motivation, internal motivation, to excel in their life, they can come brilliant also, right? So when you talk about the Z generation, mainly people are talking about, they are spoiled, by the family, the helicopter parenting, of sort of thing, right? So it's very difficult to say that, one precise answer for it, right? It depends on situation, yeah, condition of the family and all that. But largely, in my experience, in counseling perhaps, yeah, I have discovered, those who are very rich, they are overprotective, everything is scattered, uh, and that's how, they cannot develop on their own. Sometimes, they are doing well within the family, but when they face the real world, right, if you take them to a kampung setting and all that, where there is less facilities, and then they don't know how to function themselves. Right?
That's true.
Yeah.
So, do you think you agree with Dr. Abbas' statement just now?
To some sense, yes. I think that family status, socio-economic status does play a role in how a generation is developed. So if there are many coming from a parent background, family background of, not really rich, but middle age, middle class, and can provide for the family, I think yes, because it provides a lot of context about the pressure that the current generation will feel. In this current generation, there are many achievements that they need to do. Pressures from families, pressure from classes, pressure from teachers, environmental pressure. A lot of pressures are coming into them. And I think that it will cause, a lot of, when you say lazy and weak for the current generation, it's not because they don't want to excel, it's because that the things that they have done, most of it has already been done by the previous generation. The achievement that they think is great has already been done by the previous generation. And when they develop this kind of feeling like, why should I do all this? It has already been achieved. There are nothing more that I can achieve in this life because I think all of it has been achieved by the previous generation. So the pressure and things that are happening in their life maybe can be perceived themselves as, looking lazy and weak. But in essence, it's because they don't have any specific goal of what they want to achieve in life. For the previous generation, maybe they want to provide for their family
Possibly.
first. Maybe after that, they have something that they want to, or a goal that the whole generation may want to go towards to.
True.
But this current generation, because they don't feel a collective need to do something like that, is because you see that the treatment that they face, the family that I said just now, family status and also socioeconomic status, has make them believe that, oh, we don't need to actually achieve anything else in this life, or everything has been provided. We can do what we want. We can and go take what we want, and take whatever courses. There is no need for us to achieve or bring things to the nation to a greater extent. So I think, when you have that kind of mentality being put out into the current generation, it gives to the people, the current generation is weak and lazy, but actually they just want to pursue what they want and the achievement that maybe not yet explored by the previous generation.
Okay, so I want to ask one more question before we go to our commercial break. But for now, we keep it short. After this, we'll continue with your answer. Is that okay? Okay. The next question is, we often hear that older generation frequently complain that ease and also comfort has made it today's young generation become soft and also weak. What is your comment? Like, do you agree? Just very briefly first.
Well, I don't agree. So is that suffice as an answer,
Oh,
or
okay.
do I need to speak more?
It's okay. How about Doctor? Do you agree with that?
I agree in a sense, the problem is that the older generation, the X generation,
Mm-hmm.
they are trying to see themselves, and what they have gone through, why these children are not doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the way to do it, hard work, patience, perseverance, persistence is not there. And this, Z generation easily can be, deceived, cheated sometimes, lacking of wisdom, right? And all that can happen,
Okay.
they cannot take pressure and all that,
Yes, true.
So,
But sir, for now, we're going to take a break.
okay,
We'll continue with the same question, and you can continue to give more answers to the
inshallah,
same question.
inshallah.
So we have a lot more questions to ask Dr. Abbas and also Brother Rafiq. We'll be back after this commercial break. Take a sip, take a seat. Welcome back to a new episode of Coffee O'Clock, where we have not one but two very special guests joining us for tonight's episode. So let's welcome back Dr. Mohammad Abbas and also Brother Mohammad Rafiq to discuss the topic, the weak Generation Z. All right, so Dr. Abbas and Brother Rafiq, why don't we continue with Dr. Abbas first? Just now we stopped at older generation complaining that they have made things easy for the younger generations. What is your take on that?
As I said earlier on, right? So the older generation or the X generation, people of my generation, where we are today, it's all about our hard work, patience, perseverance, persistence has brought us, we are determined, It's always a growth from zero to hero, from nowhere to somewhere, from nobody to be somebody, When they see the children, not performing well or, wasting time, precious time for them. Time is gold, right? when they see that, they are afraid that they might fail in the real world because they know their time is very limited. They'll be going, and they want, as Muslims, now from a Muslim perspective, they want the next generation, to inherit, the cultural norms and values, the Islamic values, and when they, leave this world, they want these children to be good Muslims, that is the worry, right? Uh, Sometimes it can be also comparing, but now, in a globalized world, people are comparing, my children, your children, cousins are competing and all that, right? So they're trying to put the pressure. But the best thing will be for the parents to do is, um, try to understand the new world. According to Ali bin Abi Talib, he said, do not drag your children to your age, era,
True.
right? And you want to educate them the way you have been educated by your parents, you have to go in tandem with the passing age of the children, right? Adapt to them, there must be some sort of a compromise, yeah, forgive and forget,
Yes.
right? So get along with the children. Parents must be there to say sorry if they are wrong, and prepare to listen to the younger generation, where do I go wrong? Perhaps you can ask a question like that. Can we talk like a good gentleman? Sit down here. When you're
Yes.
talking to your
Have a
yeah,
conversation.
teenage boy, right? Sit down and talk, without getting, worked up,
Mad.
no anger, no nothing, right? Come down, talk, try to rationalize. Give and take is very important,
Oh,
right?
right. So just now you mentioned something about pressure. So for the young adults out there of our generation
Yeah.
who have just entered the working field, how would you give like some words of wisdom for them to overcome the pressure of the working environment?
Or working kind of, because this Z generation, they are over ambitious, they want to, go quickly and achieve something, another problem with them is they are attention seekers, they are digital because of this digital age, and then they're using technology all the time, they want to, even small matters, they like to say, I've done this, they want to see people put the thumbs up for them,
Yes.
and when the people do this, and then they get depressed. In certain countries, they go to the extent of committing suicide, right? So this is the age because their life is all about technology. They're looking into the handphones, laptop. The positive thing about them, they are multitasking. They can watch TV or do two things together, listening to music and playing around with so many things, trying to communicate and all that, right? When I look at them, I was so surprised. How can you do three things at the same time, two things at the same time? Yeah?
True.
Because the older generation, X generation, we are not trained, we are trained to listen carefully because most of them, our parents are advising us, do this, do that, don't, the family reputation, all
We
that.
need to
So
uphold
we
the family
try to uphold,
reputation.
family reputation,
Yes.
Um, but this Z generation, um, their attention span is very short. You cannot lecture them, give them a long lecture. They don't like it, Even when you
They'll get
write and
bored.
text them, they say, don't lecture us, Don't write in big paragraph, long paragraph, Say short and sweet, direct to the point, Sometimes I feel I cannot do that. I don't know how because of, lecturing all the time, lecturers like to talk all the time, right? So we write that. So they use language different from my language. They acronym, short, terms and all that. I have to ask my wife to find out what is this language is all about. But we have to respect that.
Oh.
We cannot get angry. You cannot ask them to just follow exactly like me. Gone are the days. Right? The influence outside there is much more greater now, right? They can connect to information, people, and all that. They are getting different perspective. Education is not just from the books, yeah. It is from the environment, right? Experience, uh, the friends, they talk, they share information. All this is influencing them, right?
Yes.
So If when you see them, they're making mistakes, I advise parents, families and friends listening to me, right? Don't pick on them on every small matter. Then they get bad. Why are you nagging at me and all that, right? Just, allow them to, make some minor mistakes, but not very serious according to Islam.
Yes.
And then they will learn on their own, right?
Yes.
So don't just, spy on them all the time. Give them some space, But when you see them making, serious mistake, right? Then you say, pull them aside and talk to them in a nice way.
Try to fix
Bil
their mistakes.
hikmah, the word is bil hikmah wal mau'izah. The parents must be good role models to them, If you want your children to be diligent, hardworking, the parents must be hardworking also. If you want children to pray right on time, then you have to wake up. If you want them to read Quran, then you have to read Quran, they will follow you. When parents don't do that, this generation is not going to follow. They will talk back, right? This is the generation that, they learn how to talk back to the parents. The X generation, we were not prepared to talk back. It's, communications is only one way communication.
Right. So, Brother Rafiq, on the other hand, if the younger generation is able to endure their working environment, there's a working trend adopted whereby workers put a boundary between work and also personal life. For instance, workers complete the task within time that they are paid, which is office hours lah, and no extra effort given. Do you think this will portray that young generation is weak and a lazy generation?
So, in my perspective, actually, the industry grip on the workers are quite high. It's not just Generation Z that are facing this thing. Generation X and probably people that are still in the workforce are also feeling this, where the industry has a strong grip on you and you are expected to overwork yourself and become slave to this company. And I think it's not a wrong thing if you want to establish boundaries between personal life and also workforce. I think Generation Z has been a great way forward where they have established boundaries and things that are not in their job scope. They should not do it because in a global workforce report in 2021, 50% of the workers of the world, over 100 countries, the survey was made, 50% of them are stressed and overworked. So 50% of workers in 100 countries are stressed and overworked. So how do we expect people not to establish boundaries? How do we expect people not to, do the work that are only in their job scope? If if you don't want them to be overworked, if you don't want them to be stressed. So I think it is very, very important that Generation Z push this forward because it creates a much more balanced lifestyle. It creates much more healthy work environment, and I don't think that it's a bad thing. It doesn't seem that you are lazy or you are not married to the work. It seems that you have a personal life outside of the work, and connection is very important nowadays. Because I feel that when you are overworked or stressed, the only outlet or things that you can put yourself out there is connection with people, hobby, and it's not just people who are working who are being overworked or stressed. People who are studying, people who are in university are also overworked and stressed. And I feel that the lack of this generation is not just because that people perceive them as lazy or weak or the generation perceived. I think it's also human connection. I think because of the technology or the environment, we lack human connection. And I think that is very important when you want to have a stable mental and physical.
All right. So, we have a lot more to ask to both of our guests tonight because the answers that they have given to us are also, how do I say it? It's very knowledgeable for me, in my opinion. So, before we further discuss the topic, the weak generation with our guest, Dr. Abbas, and also Brother Muhammad Rafiq, why don't we take another break? We will be back on Coffee O'Clock by IIUMTV on IIUMTV's YouTube channel. a sip, take a seat. Welcome back to the first episode of a new season of Coffee O'Clock by IIUMTV. If you guys don't know yet, the topic for tonight's episode is the weak Generation Z, where we have not just one but two special guests to discuss such topic with us. We have Dr. Abbas and Brother Mohammad Rafiq. Welcome back to the episode. All right, so without further ado, we'll just dive straight into the question. My first question will be to Brother Rafiq. So this question will be a little bit sensitive. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So nowadays, there are a lot of reports and also news where on mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, and others that are associated with today's generation. So do you think that is a sign of weakness on Gen Z?
First of all, I don't think it's a sign of weakness. I think it's a sign of how the current generation are being molded. First of all, by technology and also the environment. A survey by Time magazine shows that 43% of youth nowadays, or Generation Z, are happy, meaning that 57% of them are not happy.
Ooh.
So, from the survey of Time magazine, there are many indicators or factors perceiving to how actually Generation Z perceive happiness or why are they not happy. 81% say the reason is money. They don't have money. So they don't have things that can be used to help them move up the world, because right now, in this current environment, in this current generation, money is very important. You cannot go anywhere, you cannot do anything, you're basically
True.
just there without money. You cannot do much without money. So 81% says that they're not happy or they are stressed because of money. There's no money. They have no money. So another 70% also said that because they are lonely. So loneliness is very prevalent in this generation. Loneliness, depression, anxiety. These are the kind of things that are always thrown about when we talk about Gen Z or Generation Z. Why is this happening? Why is loneliness is much more inherent in this current generation? This is because I think one is technology. From this survey also, it has been written that technology is one of the thing or one of the cause of why this generation are having much more depression, anxiety, and also loneliness. Technology and information is decentralized. You can get information anywhere, anytime, and whenever or however you want. Before this, like I said before the commercial break, this generation lack, what do you say? This generation lack human connection. They lack connection between ourselves and also other people. When before this, maybe during Dr. Abbas' generation, when you don't know how to change a lock at the door, you ask your parents, you ask your uncle, how to do this? How do I change the lock? Now you just go on YouTube, and the information is decentralized. You just go on YouTube. There are no connection happening between you and also other human beings. First situation. Second situation, when you are working in a company, when you're stuck in an Excel, you don't know what is a pivot table. What is that? What is this? I don't know this. This is was not taught to me. Instead of asking your co-workers, instead of asking people that knows in the company, you can go search online and Google it. See, this information decentralization is important and good for the current generation where you can access information anytime. But it also gives us the biggest things that we lack in the current generation, which is human connection. We lack this connection that we make in our daily life basis. And when we don't make connection in our daily life basis, and we are stuck with technology every day, every time, when we are eating, we're not talking to people because we are watching YouTube or catching up to the next episode of House of the Dragon. And maybe when you are so absorbed in technology, when you don't have human connection, of course, you will feel lonely. You will feel that you are not connected to the other people. And you will feel that because it also being amplified by social media. Because before in Dr. Abbas' generation also, there are some comparison that I'm making Dr. Abbas' generation and my generation. That in Dr. Abbas' generation, for example, if you are dating or you are meeting new people, you are meeting people in your current vicinity area. So, for example, in your village or in your gomba, for example, you will meet the people that you meet in your entire life, meaning that the people that you meet is the people that you will love, the people that you will spend your whole time with. But when you're on the current age, social media, dating app, and also, these things that are happening in our society, you are, the choices that we have right now is much more inflated. The beauty standards or the standard of meeting people is much, much more inflated. You'll be meeting these 10 out of 10s every time you swipe this left, right in Tinder. So how are you gonna be having self-esteem? How are you gonna be having no depression or no anxiety when you are being compared on daily life basis in on the social media and also meeting new people? So you are not confident to meet new people because you feel that you are not adequate enough to communicate and technology. So for what I'm saying just now, in technology has been a great advancement to society. It has also helped Gen Z to get where we are today, but it has also become our biggest crutch. We must learn to detach ourselves, or maybe like people used to say, detox from technology. We must learn to live without technology, and we must learn to make human connection without technology, or we're gonna be continue feeling lonely and be depressed and have anxiety.
So we have to go back to the old ways and create connections with the people around us and also with ourselves.
Yes.
Okay, so Dr. Abbas, do you think that the older generation should be more empathetic and also understanding of Generation Z, because there are, a lot of challenges facing Gen Z in this modern era?
Thank you, sister. Right? A long time ago, I thought, I had this feeling, that my generation was the best generation. I took pride in my generation. Said, we are hard workers. We study hard. We achieve great things and all that. Right? After looking at the world, the present world, and counseling, doing counseling, and talking with them, and meeting my students and all that. When I survey in the classroom their minds, I tend to grow sympathetic toward them. Finally, my conclusion will be, this is very sincere, personal conclusion, right? I think the challenges faced by today's youngster are much more greater than mine. Mine was just poverty. Opportunities are not there. You have to look, knock doors, say, I have this certificate, I can do this. You're begging people, you're going around, right? But now they are surrounded with so many challenges, like technology, peer pressure, right? And, the time for themselves and for their family, it's very little, right?
Yes.
So they isolate themselves most of the time, and sometimes they don't speak up, right? So, and then the isolation is not good, right? So the older generation try to understand them, and they should not brag all the time, my generation was best, don't over criticize. No, the two things, in talking to today's youngsters, is diplomacy and persuasion. Yeah. Instead of saying directly, they might never accept, go around, use reverse psychology. And then they can listen to you. Yes, maybe you have a point, right? I agree with you. A little while later, they'll turn back and say, I'm sorry, for arguing, you got a point there, right? So parents have to learn new skills of parenting. You cannot use the old thing. Yeah, adapt to the new world, new changes and all that, right? So
okay. So before we end the show, I want to know your last piece of advice to the young generation out there. Why don't we start with Dr. Abbas first?
Okay. My advice will be, right, the younger generation now, they like to isolate themselves, If a guest is coming, they feel nervous and they ask questions why they are coming and all that, right? So they feel uncomfortable, right? They think, they want to live on their own. Everything is on the apps. They can find out, I don't need, relatives, I don't need to communicate with neighbors and all that, right? And they actually criticize the society for what it is, sort of narcissistic attitude they have, So here I have a quote from Iqbal when he says the individual and the society. The great poet, Iqbal once said, the individual exists in relation to the community. Alone, he is nothing. The wave exists in the river. Outside the river, it is nothing. When a word is taken out of its verse, it causes the sense to be lost. The green leaf that falls from the branch loses all hopes of enjoying the spring. He who does not drink from the fountain of society will find that the fire of his melodies dies out in him. Right? Now, another thing about social media thing, right? Social media, people are thinking, as I said a moment ago, everything is there. I can find for myself, I don't need other people, right? I have an advice. This is my personal quote. My students have heard it, right? And I would like to share with the audience and friends and my students out there who's watching right now, right? Social media. Internet and social media provide information and good communication tools. But our lives should not be enslaved to them. At times we have to pause and see the world through our own eyes and not through a borrowed vision. Seeing things as they are promises the birth of wisdom. Right? Right. The last thing about, I say it from the Islamic perspective is, this is a hadith. The hadith says, the Prophet ﷺ says, "Igtanim khamsan qabla khamsin." Yeah. Utilize, take advantage of 5 before 5 situation comes to you, right? Shababaka qabla haramika. Your youthful age before old age comes. Wasahatuka qabla saqamika. Your health before sickness befalls upon you. وَغِنَاكَ قَبْلَ فَقْرِكَ. Your wealth before poverty comes to you. وَفَرَاغَكَ قَبْلَ شُغْلِكَ. Your free time before you become very busy. So when you have free time, try to maximize, use it in a nice way, connect with people, with families and all that. وَحَيَاتَكَ قَبْلَ مَوْتِكَ. Right? Your life before death come to you. Life is precious. Life is larger than your position, larger than your money and all everything, right? So young people out there who's listening to me, right? Don't let life slip away from your grip, right? Enjoy the moment while it is still there, right? Money is important, families are important, relatives, your elders in the society, you have to respect them, right? Now, Ibn Khaldun says, there are 3 generations. According to his theory, says, the first generation of people, right, the founders, the builders of the empire or the country, yeah, or the society, the elders, they are the builders because they put a lot of hard work, and when they had so much of patience and perseverance they went through. They are the best according to Ibn Khaldun. The second generation of people who are the second generation, the children of the builders, right? The creators of the empire, right? They will taste the fruit of the labor of their parents, They are a little bit not attached to the society culture and all that. The third generation I'm referring to, maybe the third generation can be referred to the present generation, right? The Z generation, perhaps, he tells us, is the problematic generation. They are detached from their soil. They don't care what happened to the country and to the, they are very individualistic. These other people can sometimes sell the country, conspire with external forces and all that. And these are the people who can cause, the nation to fall, right? With that, I think I did.
All right. Thank you so much to both Brother Rafiq and also Dr. Abbas for an insightful arguments on the strawberry generation. And I would like to thank all the viewers out there for tuning in to tonight's episode. So before we end the live, I would like to remind all the viewers out there to follow our social media, which are Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and also latest TikTok. We'll see you again next week, every Tuesday at 9 p.m. only on IIUMTV's YouTube channel. Take a sip, take a seat. Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.